boys and girls, it's time to nerd fight!
Step into the ring, it's time to brawl. Nerd fights, baby, we're geeking for all. Marvel, DC, Trek, and more.
Fire.
Pop culture battles, settle the score. Nerd fights, let's get loud. Nerd fights, yeah, for the geeky crowd. Nerd fights, hey, it's time to throw down. Bring your fandom, it's the hottest showdown. Who's got the takes? Who's got the heat? Mr. Know-It-All and Salty can't be beat. Introducing Gonzo, a nerdy delight. Comics knowledge, a geeky sage. Judging the battles, turning the page.
That means only one thing. It's time to fight.
Beat drops out with a final shot.
Nerd Fights.
Let's fight!
Nerdfights is a competitive debate game show where self-proclaimed nerds face off for 3 rounds in head-to-head battles over geeky topics, judged by a single judge who decides the winner based on argument strength, wit, and strategy.
Hey, welcome to Nerd Fights! What's up, everybody? This is the brand new game. I'm so excited. How's it going, guys?
Doing great.
I still want to know why I'm the only one that actually looks accurate in the intro.
What are you talking about? I look accurate. You want me to wear my little baseball? I got a
You
baseball
look like
shirt.
a nerdy white guy in an anime.
You know.
And Gonzo looks like Keanu Reeves.
Oh,
Keanu
really?
Reeves. If you got a suntan.
It's huge, man. It's huge. He looks like Keanu Reeves. I love it.
Oh,
my gosh.
I do want to introduce you to my friend here.
Oh, Lord. What's going on here? What's going on?
Have
What's
a
wrong
seat,
with...
Captain.
Salty Monster,
jeez.
have you been working out?
What is this? He's a little buff. I'm noticing he's got some pecs action going on.
That's I've been pumping iron.
Oh my God.
Diet.
I'm excited. This is our very first Nerd Fights. By the way, we're working through some of the bugs and stuff. So obviously we are here in the chat tonight. So hopefully you are too. Would love to hear you guys kind of talk and interact with us. Obviously, the game itself is a little pre-recorded, but at the same time, we're recording it what they call live to tape. So we do appreciate you guys. Always, by the way, feel free. I know all the usual suspects are out there. Make sure you guys were putting in the comments other competitions you'd like to see us argue about and have debates about and have nerd fights about. But as for right this second, let's really quickly kind of remind everybody what the game is and overall what it is we do here with some little general rules and overview.
Nerd fighters are given a debate topic. Fighters pick a number to determine who argues first. The judge is the sole arbiter. All decisions are final unless genuinely persuaded otherwise. Arguing with the judge in bad faith, all kidding aside, results in immediate forfeiture.
Immediate forfeiture. We get
That
serious
sounds
about
like that if you use the words "all kidding aside," it's immediate forfeiture. That's what that rule did.
Okay, clearly that is not what I mean. So
Yeah.
hopefully nobody's thinking that way.
Oh, wait a minute. All kidding aside. Oh, yep. It's
Oh,
over.
you're gone.
Yeah.
Instantly forfeited the game. No, golly, why do I have a feeling that Stan's right now in the chat just blowing us up about stuff like that? Sorry. All right.
Breaking it
So,
up.
dude, you're the judge. What's going? Introduce yourself.
All right,
sir.
so it looks like I have a number that you guys have to guess to see who goes
Yes.
first.
Between
Yes.
what and what?
All right, so you're looking between the numbers 1 and 15.
Okay,
And
cool.
I guess whoever comes the closest will be the one. Because we're not going to go back and forth with each number.
We'll just literally both do the number on either side. Like, what is
That, and then I would have to say, okay, then we have to go a second go
One more
around.
time. Go ahead, second go around. Go ahead, Salty. Go ahead, brother.
Oh, sure. You want me to go first? I see. Yeah.
Sure.
But all right. Between 1 and 15.
Yes.
7.5.
7.5, he says. That's legit. I'll keep a 7.5 on there.
There you go. You got a 50-50 shot there.
I was going to say 8.
8. All right. So it looks like Mr. Know-It-All gets it with a number 8. The number was 11. So
What do you know? All right, so we're gonna do. I'll be going first then.
It was rigged.
yeah, it looks like it.
What
So
is-
today's topic or today's
go.
debate, it looks like, will be. Should I say yes? will be who would win in a real space battle. Would it be the Federation, Star Trek? It would be the originals, according to the movies I understand, or the movie, and or rather, the Empire from Star Wars.
Boom. Okay, that's good. It's good. This is
And it
good.
looks like
Just to clarify to people, because I know there's a lot of different iterations of both of these franchises.
yes,
So we are specifically talking about the level of technology Star Trek had when Captain Kirk from the original series was captain in the movie era. So the Enterprise A basically is the most advanced ship.
that is correct,
Well,
sir.
I guess you could actually argue the Reliant, because Reliant.
Okay, no, the
be
answer was
saltier, too.
perfect.
But
That answer
anyway,
was perfect.
but then and on Star Wars, what you see in the original trilogy
That's right.
is
That's right.
The original trilogy. All right,
That's right.
Star Wars original trilogy. And it looks like we've already picked who's going to pick. We picked who's going to pick. Let's see who's going to choose. Who's going to argue for who?
Who's going to go first?
So it looks like that we have Mr. Know-It-All here. He is going to be the Empire, and he
right.
will. He
I mean, if you couldn't tell from the fact that Salty's wearing his uniform and I'm not wearing my uniform.
Yes,
so
but I have a
clearly.
stormtrooper behind
See, I would
you,
like
and
to
you have
point
the
out that
Enterprise
as well.
behind you.
It's hilarious. We didn't even notice that we sat here. It's great.
And on the other corner, we have Salty. Yeah, you see, Salty at representing Star Trek.
That's right.
All right. So what we're gonna do now is give you 5 minutes to see for your opening arguments.
We're going to start round one.
Yeah, we're gonna start round one, which is your opening arguments, right?
Yep. Ready?
Yes, and
Good. Each fighter has 5 minutes to clearly present and defend their chosen position. 1 point possible. No attacks allowed yet. Stick strictly to promoting your position. Bad sportsmanship can result in the loss of a point or points. A judge may ask fighters clarifying questions, giving each fighter 2 minutes to respond. 1 point possible. At the end of the round, each fighter is allowed to offer a final 30-second summary of their argument.
well, there you have it.
All right. So here we go. You ready?
Yes, you ready?
Okay. Here we go.
And we're gonna go 5 minutes. Go.
All right, why the Galactic Empire would decisively defeat the Federation. Well, first, I need you to picture the interstellar powers squaring off on one side of the United Federation of Planets from Star Trek, known for exploration, diplomacy, all those things like that we're talking about. But right here, we're going to look at the other side. That is the Galactic Empire. Specifically, Star Wars was notorious for its having a colossal fleet, a very fear-based rule, as well as planet-destroying weapons or weapons capable of essentially destroying a planet or wiping it out. Now, despite the ingenuity that others may show or the moral backbone that the Resistance has shown, as well as the Republic and later on New Republic, they do not in any way, shape, or form get phased because the Empire is known to having overwhelming military strength. So the Empire fields a vast navy that's around 25,000 Imperial destroyers, each of them bristling with turbo lasers, TIE squadrons, those are fighters, and the destructive capability to subjugate entire planets. I call your attention to the legendary Battle of Mandalore that is cited numerous times throughout the series, as well the trilogy, and one of those things where they specifically talk about how often they have destroyed, bombarded planets from space. And so my point is that they have a lot of explosive destructive capabilities. Of course, the Empire also has deployed the Death Star, which is ultimately a super weapon, which seems to be their stock in trade super weapons, which I find pretty interesting. And when it comes to no matter who you are in the entire galactic rim or the Empire, species that have been known to be primarily defensive have a tendency to fall short in that regard. So at the end of the day, the primarily offensive Empire has weaponry to spare. Next, you have their super strategic mobility and logistics. The Galactic Empire's logistic infrastructure is on a whole nother scale, with millions of members subject worlds funneling resources into centralized shipyards. Ultimately, their facilities are designed for building their entire space fleet. Hyperspace is another another entire game changer. Their travel through hyperspace allows Star Destroyers to cross entire regions of space in hours or less. When it comes to being able to move a fleet, large scale fleet, they are very much, they have proven to be almost unmatched in that capacity within the realm of Star Wars, dwarfing other similar fleets from other species. Three, they have their centralized leadership and ultimately ruthless doctrine. Under Emperor Palpatine, who's been their leader, orders have essentially flowed from the top with unquestionable authority. Commanders, admirals, all of them who are swiftly removed if they fail. So ultimately, you don't want to fail. They have a willingness to wage total war. The Empire's military doctrine, called the Tarkin Doctrine, holds that fear keeps the star systems in line. Alderaan's destruction, cold reminder of this fact. Meanwhile, they also have psychological and cultural factors. Because the Empire rules by fear, it capitalizes on shock and awe. Star Destroyers, TIE Fighters appear suddenly out of hyperspace, leveling entire populations if necessary. And then, of course, I think to sum it up, the Galactic Empire is sheer scale, relentless combat tactics, fast strategic mobility, and complete willingness to crush all opposition would ultimately devastate any of your average opponents, much like, in this regard, because who we're talking about, much like the Federation, but I'm not going to get into them personally. Time.
Ooh, we had a minute to spare. That was pretty good. All right, it looks like
Are you going to ask him?
yeah, man, that's awesome.
Are you good, or do you have any questions for him? Because
I have no clarifying questions. That was a lot of information to take in.
Thank you.
In less than 5 minutes.
I know. I had to throw it all out there real quick.
Yeah. So I don't have any clarifying questions right now. I do. No, I don't. So I think we're gonna go now to Salty, Captain Salty, I should say, of the SES Enterprise.
SES Enterprise.
Something I got to make up, man, because you can't be the original one, man.
I think it's the SLT.
No, whatever. I don't know. Nope. The SOL. You're in the SOL Enterprise.
It's a truck. Yeah, it's a truck.
Wow, picking sides already. That's harsh.
It was no. I mean, it's cool. I love it. Well, here you go. Are you ready to?
I'll try, but yeah.
All right. Well, time begins now.
Okay, so the United Federation of Planets, based on what Kirk says in the episode with I can't remember the name of the episode. I'm freaking out, but it's the one with the companion where he meets Zephyr Cochrane. The United Federation of Planets at that point was 1,000 worlds and spreading. Now, of course, most people know that the military wing of the United Federation of Planets is, of course, Starfleet. What a lot of people don't realize is that it is also true that every one of those planets has their own localized military, much like how on Earth, every nation would have their own military, but the Earth itself would have a single unified military in case of a global threat. It's a similar kind of idea. So Vulcan has its own fleet, Earth has its own fleet, and Starfleet is the fleet that basically.
You're gonna have to mute yourself there, Mr. Know-It-All. I can hear all that typing. Faster than 1950 secretary. No,
when we look at starships, the mainstay of Starfleet and most other races use similarly equipped vessels. Their primary attack relies on what are called phasers, which are a energy-based weapon, as well as photon torpedoes, which is a matter-antimatter explosive device that works much in the same way as a missile. Photon torpedoes are capable of warp travel, meaning that they can go faster than light as long as they are launched from a vessel going faster than light. The Federation, while known to be somewhat non-aggressive, they do not believe in expansionism. They also have a very strong doctrine of defense and will, in fact, go on the offensive when the time warrants. For example, in Taste of Armageddon, James T. Kirk ordered General Order 24, which I'm sure we'll get into a little bit later. As far as the general weapons, that's the mainstay of the fleet. They also do use tractor beams to hold other vessels in place, both as a form of keeping their distance from them, and they can literally, as we've seen in multiple episodes, break a ship apart with them. Starships are also incredibly fast. They have two types of drive, impulse and warp. Impulse engines are their basically slower than light travel. They can go, what we've seen them clocked in Star Trek The Motion Picture at about 7/10 of the speed of light, which is very, very fast. They can cruise at half the speed of light. Warp drive is a faster than light travel, a practical faster than light drive that can go many hundreds of times the speed of light at maximum.
You have 2 minutes.
All right. On the defensive side, they primarily use deflector shields and force fields to protect their ships. We have seen, in fact, that the deflector shield took a single bolt of which was the equivalent of 90 photon torpedoes, and it would take 4 such hits to bring the shields down. Even then, the hull is so strong on one of these ships that the Enterprise can take a nuclear blast with shields down from 100 yards, and not one person on the ship was severely injured from it. There were a few burns and some circuit burnouts, and that is it. But the real ace in the hole for the Starfleet is their science division. The fact that on a whim and almost immediately they can adapt to anything and everything they have ever come across, from psychokinetic wielding aliens to strange life forms that don't even appear to be life forms
1 minute.
at all. So they have been able to use their science to very quickly come up with new creative solutions in order to deal with unknown problems. In a conflict with an aggressor like the Empire or something like that, they would simply use their science division to ascertain the level of threat and counter it appropriately with weapons, defense, and mobility unmatched by anything that anybody has ever brought to bear.
With 30 seconds to spare, that was awesome. So, clarifying question.
Yes.
And it might. Are we talking about the whole? Yeah, we're talking. Never mind. We're talking about the whole Federation, not just the one ship. So I'm answering my own question.
The Constitution class starship is the mainstay of the Federation fleet. That's what the Enterprise itself is. But you also have,
that's what
at that time period, you have Miranda class ships, you have Excelsior class ships. Although at the time of the films, there's only one existing Excelsior class. Well, 2 if you count the Enterprise B. And then the Oberth class ships, which are basically cannon fodder. But then you also have all the localized ship like Vulcan cruisers and stuff like that.
All right, that answers my question. So Mr. Know-It-All is going to do a rebuttal for Salty's opening
adding
argument.
to what he had to say, yeah.
Right, just kind of reinforcing some things, and then, but ultimately not attacking him yet. Yeah. All right.
Go. So here we go. Starting now at 3 minutes.
All right, the Galactic Empire as portrayed in the original Star Wars trilogy stands as a nearly invincible force built on fear, massive firepower, and centralized authority. Its core instrument of control is the Imperial Navy spearheaded by colossal star destroyers, each capable of patrolling entire star systems, carrying legions of stormtroopers, and deploying swarms of TIE fighters. These star destroyers project the Emperor's will anywhere in the galaxy, crushing localized opposition with ruthless efficiency. Above all looms the ultimate symbol of Imperial dominance, the Death Star, a moon-sized battle station able to annihilate entire planets in a single beam. We see this horrifying demonstration when Grand Moff Tarkin obliterates Alderaan, instantly killing billions to instill terror across star systems. The fact the Empire can deploy such a weapon again with the second Death Star under construction shows how it can overpower or threaten any foe who dares resist. Behind these war machines stands an authoritarian leadership wielding absolute power. Emperor Palpatine rules by fostering fear and loyalty, while figures Figures like Darth Vader and Tarkin ensure unwavering obedience. On the ground, stormtroopers form a massive army of trained soldiers, relentlessly disciplined, attacking with overwhelming numbers, leveraging devastating armor support like the hulking AT-ATs. These force maintains order on dozens of worlds installations, making rebellion extraordinarily dangerous. Finally, fear itself is weaponized as the Empire's guiding principle. As Tarkin declares, fear will keep the local systems in line. This strategy proves brutally effective when entire populations know the Empire might unleash a planet-killing superweapon. In summary, the Empire's colossal fleet, terror-based superweapons, and iron-fisted command structure shown throughout the original trilogy mean it becomes a force that is devastating to withhold.
All right. Well, a minute left over.
Thank you.
Mr. Rapid Fire over here. That's what we're doing.
Well, I didn't know. I can't see a timer, so and unfortunately that's on me. So I have to make sure that I'm like able to keep track of all of it.
Yeah, like in the 3-minute time, I'll let you know if you had like a minute left.
Oh, right on. Yeah, no, I'm good though. I got everything. I don't know what else to say. I got everything out as
You're
quickly
great,
as concisely as
awesome.
possible.
How about you, Salty? You ready for a rebuttal?
Yeah.
All right. Well, here we go with Salty's rebuttal to Mr. Know-It-All, beginning now.
Honestly, in my initial presentation, just because I didn't have it all written out, but I did forget a couple of key facts that I meant to include in my initial proposal, which is simply to demonstrate the effective firepower of the Federation. One thing to keep in mind is that the maximum effective range of phasers are 100,000 kilometers in the original series, and we do know, while we don't know the exact amount, that phasers had been upgraded by the first Star Trek film by channeling phaser energy directly through the warp engines, which they were not before. They were batteries, basically, before that. Secondary, the photon torpedoes. Remember, these are matter-antimatter explosives. They have a maximum range of 80,000 kilometers that we've seen in the original series. That's the furthest we've actually seen anyone fire, and the targeting sensors seem to be very quickly and capable of hitting a target 1 meter across at that distance. And so they are incredibly deadly and accurate as far as their weapons are concerned. And of course, the Federation is a democratic body. They believe in the common defense of all, and that's basically their entire political system. But that's really, let me see, is there anything else? Oh, I did want to mention, because it'll come up in our future arguments, is the Romulan bird of prey. I just want to throw that out there so it's not new information when we get to that segment.
As long as it's in the movie. Yeah,
particularly, well, it's in the original series.
It's in the era, yeah.
Yeah, and so the Romulan bird of prey, and particularly its weapons, will come into play when we're discussing firepower.
Oh, is that right, man? Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I might allow it. I might not allow it.
I think Mr. Know-It-All's trying to ask.
You are muted again, sir.
Sorry. Point of order. I don't. What movie were the Romulans in? I'm just curious. I missed that one.
It was the episode Balance of Terror.
But I thought we were focusing on that arrow in the movies.
The technology you also referred to the battle of. I'm sorry.
I'll allow this. Continue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. The Battle of
ahead.
Mandalore, which was not in the original trilogy. And so just because I'm referring to something that took place prior to the films doesn't mean it's not relevant here.
All right. So that whatever he said is sustained, because that is true. I remember you were saying that. And so we got a little tit for tat there, which I will allow, and I love that.
Listen.
Yeah, right. I actually heard that, and I was like, okay.
That's awesome.
I stuck that in my little memory bank. So
no, that's good. That's good.
Good looking out on that one. And so that was also a compelling, nice rebuttal there. Dude, I'm learning a lot. I mean, I'm not a nerd like that. I am a nerd. I would say in a geek status, but Star Trek and Star Wars, I am learning everything right now. All right, so it looks like we've got our opening arguments, we got our rebuttals, and it looks like now we might be ready for our round two. I'm not.
The bad. Each fighter has 5 minutes with which to attack your opponent's choice directly. Highlight flaws, inconsistencies, and most of all, weaknesses. 1 point possible. Fighters cannot change or expand on the original argument. Your initial case is locked in. Defensive arguments can only counter attacks without adding new information. Each fighter gets 2 minutes with which to defend against attacks. 1 additional point possible. The judge may ask clarifying questions, giving each fighter 1 minute to respond. 1 additional point possible. Option: in the event of a tie or the judge is finding difficult to make a decision, each fighter is allowed a final 30-second summation.
And as we were saying, those two regarding those two answers that you guys rebutted towards each other, it canceled each other out, so none of you get any extra points for that.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. That's awesome. Right on.
All right, looks like here we go. So the second question for the second round is going to be: why would your opponent's choice fail disastrously in an actual space battle?
You know, let me know when I can go.
All right, so it looks like that. Yeah, you get to choose first because you won in the toss or the numbers in the beginning. So, Mr. Know-It-All, shoot.
Actually, I'm down. Do you guys want to make it? Do you want to? Does that feel? And this is just because we're kind of still developing the game as we go. Forgive me. Does Salty want to go first because I went first last time? How do you want to do the rounds? It doesn't matter to me one way or the other.
Yeah, because we can do that. Since he started it, you can start on round 2.
No, I'm fine either way. I'm just, however you want to do it.
Okay.
All right, good. So for the sake of argument, I pick you then. You go first.
So how long do I have to? Because I got a lot of stuff.
You have 5 minutes, sir.
Okay, good.
And we're going to begin now.
Okay. So, first of all, the Tarkin Doctrine is the primary methodology of the Empire, keeping people basically at bay through the use of fear. This can be very effective in a galaxy far, far away. Unfortunately, they have not faced a group with the resolve of the Federation, which does not give to fear, even in the face of absolute certain defeat by enemies that are far superior to them militarily, and we've seen that many times in the past. As far as their ruthless doctrine being so effective, as we have also seen in the Star Wars trilogy, this seems to breed a whole lot of incompetence among its officers. Yes, it's true that Darth Vader has to routinely execute his senior officers while they are on the job, and that's because they are so incompetent that nobody of any intelligence would want to be an officer in the Imperial fleet, because who wants to risk getting force choked from half a galaxy away? Now, it is true.
Don't go too far.
It is absolutely true that hyperspace can allow you to move fleets across the galaxy in much less time than warp drive can do. I would absolutely concede the point. However, what hyperspace cannot do is affect combat in any way, shape, or form. There's only one documented example of a hyperspace maneuver being effective in combat, and as they actually said in a later installment, that was a 1 in a million fluke. The hyperspace itself takes you to another dimensional plane. You cannot engage in combat while in hyperspace, and you cannot jump into hyperspace and out of hyperspace on a whim. You actually have to spend time calculating your route prior to engaging hyperdrive, and so it is not an effective combat tool. Warp drive, however, we see in multiple instances as used in combat while firing weapons and evading enemy maneuvers. And it does travel at hundreds of times the speed of light. Speaking of speed, the fastest ship in the Imperial Navy is the TIE Fighter. The TIE Fighter has a maximum speed, I repeat, a maximum speed of 746 miles per hour. This is documented Star Wars canon. 746 miles per hour. Now, I know that sounds pretty darn fast, and by today's standards, it really is. However, impulse speed, remember, this is the slower speed that we see in Star Trek, has a top speed that we've seen of 670
2 minutes.
616,609.38 miles per hour. So I do think that there is no contest there. We also talked about the maximum range of weapons. I already mentioned that phasers and photon torpedoes are effective up to about 100,000 kilometers distant. And the maximum distance that we have ever seen any Star Wars tech be used is 60 kilometers. And that is more advanced tech than what we see in the original trilogy. Now, it is true that we have examples, as Mr. Know-It-All didn't got in, the Mandalorian conflict of Imperial ships bombarding planets and basically turning them into glass by sending entire fleets of ships decimating the surface of a planet. A very effective plan indeed, except that, as I already mentioned,
You have
General
1 minute.
24 is an order in which any starship captain can order a single starship to accomplish the exact same mission as was threatened in the episode Taste of Armageddon. A single starship can wipe out the surface of a planet just as effective as an entire Imperial fleet. Yes, there are 25,000 Star Destroyers, but these are basically giant cardboard cutouts just waiting to be shot out of the sky by the far superior technology of the Federation. And remember, there's over 1,000 planets in the Federation, so that's only 25 per planet. Shouldn't be too difficult. As far as their colossal fleet, there were a total of 30, that is 30 Star Destroyers at the Battle of Endor, the single most important battle that the Empire ever fought. And I guess that's all they could spare. Oopsie. And by the way, a whopping 30
All right, time is up.
took out the Death Star.
All
Mic
right,
drop.
time is up. hey. I'm gonna ease up on that conduct right there.
That's
The final one. That was a very compelling. That was very compelling, man. I'm gonna.
And I didn't even get everything in, but I tried.
Oh, that was very compelling. I mean, that's 100 points right there.
Easily.
That is 100 points. All right, Mr. Know-It-All, are you ready?
Yeah, man.
He
Just let me know what time.
presented this, and it was fascinating. I loved it. All right, so you ready? Here we go. You have your 5 minutes now.
So I love the fact that he wants to pretend that those teeny tiny starships, by comparison to the much larger Death Stars, could totally overwhelm, but that's okay. We won't even get into all that. So strategic logistics and constraints, let's get into it. From a structural standpoint, the Federation's designed for exploration and defense. Structurally, he may be, oh, we're so aggressive, we can fight everybody. Yeah, but your turnaround time is a little bit lacking. So essentially, if they were to face a continuous large-scale combat, the territory spans hundreds of member worlds, but each relies on relatively low or slow warp travel and dispersed network of star bases. Though technically sophisticated, Starfleet ship production ramps up slowly and puts heavy strain on resources demonstrated during the Dominion War, when the Federation scrambled to replenish losses. Meanwhile, crucial outposts and colonies can be vulnerable. And by the way, that was a much more advanced era. We're talking about way back in the day during the movie era, or at least that's what it was supposed to be. But hey, we'll go further back too. I'm sure those older clunker ships, I'm sure they're going to be super strong and powerful.
Go on the way back.
Yeah, totally. Meanwhile, crucial outposts and colonies can be vulnerable to multi-pronged assaults in a drawn-out campaign. The vulnerability makes it nearly impossible to guard every single front effectively. On top of that, while advanced replicators and starbases bolster the routine logistics, they cannot magically scale to produce entire star fleets at the speed demanded by a total war. Now, most Federation vessels, from science ships to light explorers, kind of really lack heavy armament or armor, but I'm sure we're going to include all of them in those so impressive numbers. Consequently, if pinned down by a focused, numerical, superior adversary, Starfleet would ultimately risk losing too many ships too quickly with no fast way to ultimately replace them. Now, let's see, they have a democratic command structure, which ultimately requires a whole lot of talk and discourse when it comes to coming to new enemies, lest we forget the core of the ambassadors who are going to want to ultimately talk their way out of something from an enemy who's really not really all that care about talking. Plus, their centralized Federation identity is ultimately deep respect for sentient life, guided by ethical pillars such as the Prime Directive. The Empire, no compunction by any of that. So while they're scrambling, trying to, maybe we can talk to them, maybe we can this and that, the Empire is cutting straight through, taking out Kronos, taking out Vulcan, all those places, one at a time, just going through. Meanwhile, they're still scrambling to figure out what's happening with their little teeny tiny ships. So I'm sure they have all these wonderful, powerful weapons. I'm sure that he could bombard any number of ships, even though it's not really a comparison of whether or not they can. It's about whether or not they have the ultimate ability to do it. So with an opposing force that embraces terror, genocide, or planetary bombardment places the Federation in a moral bind, adopting similar brutal tactics would contradict everything the Federation stands for and likely fracture both its unity and public support. Ultimately, refusing such escalation, however, leaves the Federation fighting with one arm tied behind its back, something we've seen numerous times. An overextension in collective psychology, you have to look at the fact that the Federation's territory is vast. Many of its core worlds, like Earth, Vulcan, and Andoria, are at the heart of its civilization. Should an enemy bypass those border defenses and strike deep into Federation space or adopt a strategy of systemic planetary destruction, you're looking at public panic skyrocketing. Civilians are used to peaceful strategy. They're used to peaceful discussion. That's not the Empire's about. The Empire doesn't care one bit. Ultimately, the Federation's downfall is ultimately its in any high intensity conflict stems from the same aspects that make it a beacon of hope and cooperation in the galaxy. Its democratic governance, moral constraints, and structure oriented toward exploration rather than conquest. While it boasts advanced technology and dedicated officers, Starfleet's limited wartime logistics, slower decision-making process, and inherent reluctance to wage total war will ultimately create a critical vulnerability against a remorseless foe that leverages every advantage, intimidation, and unlimited production, indiscriminate violence. The Federation would struggle to maintain both its territory, integrity, and perhaps more important, its core principles.
Ooh.
Mic drop.
Oh, man.
Not even close.
I was gonna say, just sidebar, nothing to do with this. I was gonna say, God, this argument. I'm like, why am I always on the bad guy side? Like with the Terminator, like with the Terminator one from last week.
For the bad guy, you know.
That was also very compelling because it looks like, I mean, he's not lying about the Federation just being very diplomatic and a lot of red tape to go through, as opposed to listen to the Emperor. And that's it. All right, so I am going to award you 100 points right there, man. It looks like we're going to have to rebuttal each time.
All right.
So I guess, Salty, it's your turn. You get a chance to rebuttal this compelling argument of why your Federation is going to crumble into little tiny pieces, as he says.
Yeah, compelling, not quite. Look, first of all.
Oh, not quite. All right. And your time begins now.
I understand that he thinks it's compelling. However, this won't take too long. The Federation has 1,660 times the weapons range of the Empire. The Federation has 898,949 times the speed of the ships in the Empire. Oh, we'll get to hyperspace in a second there, buddy. The Empire, Starfleet wouldn't be able to replenish their losses. Oh, no, that's not a problem if you're not going to lose anything, because you can shoot them hours before you can even get into weapons range. In fact, days before you can get into weapons range, we could be shooting you out of the sky. You don't understand that scale. By the way, speaking of scale, what is it that one guy said? Oh, yeah, size matters not. And so the Death Star, it's very, very big. But you know what else it is? It's unique, and it has a small port that if you hit it with a torpedo, you can take it out in one shot. And oh, goodness gracious, we can shoot a torpedo from 80,000 kilometers distance. And that torpedo, by the way, can hit a 1 meter target, and that exhaust port is 2 meters across. Oopsie, I guess the Death Star is not that big a deal, is it? By the way, the Empire, yeah, their hyperspace is all cool and badass and everything except for one slight problem. If the Empire were invading the Milky Way galaxy, they wouldn't have a clue as to a single hyperspace lane within the Milky Way. They'd be traveling sublight all the way. There would be no end run, no way to jump to Kronos or Earth. They would have to do a standard campaign at sublight speeds. Game over.
Whoa, with a minute to spare. Ow, 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 ow. He does have a point there. Can I mention the point?
Absolutely. Please.
Oh, yeah. That point is, the ability to shoot at things that you cannot see in front of you is very compelling. Like, I kind of use that same thing whenever they try to do things with the United States and say, we can't be invaded because we'll see y'all coming a mile, 2,000 miles away. And so that to me is very compelling.
Yeah. In fact, I mean, you could actually compare it if you're going to look at modern day warfare. It would be as if the United States military of say 200,000 men was going up against 10 million guys on camels.
No, I'm giving him just a second. I'm just giving a second. That's it. That's all he's got to say. Yeah. That's it.
Okay. All right,
and it's still the same argument that he's saying. So it's nothing.
I didn't change anything.
He didn't change anything.
No, I got you.
He got like a 10-second thing to say with what I had to say, and that was it.
Copy.
And so that was so that's fair. That's fair. All right, are you ready, Mr. Know-It-All?
Oh my God, so ready. Please.
This is getting good. Do it. Do it.
I mean, it would be good if like he had an actual.
We're beginning now. Argument. Let's go.
Thank you. So at the end of the day, the man talks. He's talking about the number and volume, and he's talking about going slow through whatever. So the one thing I'm going to say is the one advantage we do have is we have a leader who, the minute we caught the first of one of the unsuspecting, all we need is a captain. Because remember, captains know the codes. And the Force has been known to be able to ultimately take out, and that's a part of the Empire, take and extract information. It's been very well known. If he can't do it, we have devices that can do it. Why? Bad guys. Totally down for getting information, ruthless means if necessary. Now, let's get into the other thing, the other issue. Because again, my point is we could get information about getting what we need and ultimately extrapolating what we would have to in order to be able to navigate successfully one way or another. Not even remotely worried. So then there's 25,000 Imperial Star Destroyers. Now, I know you want to mention the 30, but here's the thing. In this kind of an incursion, we wouldn't just send an exploratory group. We'd send the whole thing. So Star Wars reference guides, ultimately Legends, leads us to commonly cite approximately 25,000 Imperial Star Destroyers at any given time in active service. By contrast, Star Trek references Starfleet ships in the, I think, hundreds and thousands potentially, but never the tens of thousands. Now, even in wartime peaks, Dominion War, whatever, Starfleet struggled to assemble fleets of hundreds of ships for a single battle. Whereas, then we get into the size of it all. You're going with movie era and back. Those ships were significantly smaller. So of our 25,000 plus, our ships are easily 10 to 1 outclassing every single ship that comes at them. Now, I suppose maybe you're 10 or you're 15 or you're whatever, but also we've got all of our TIE fighters that you would now have to individually take out. And we've all seen the Federation ships overwhelmed tremendously by either Borg attack vessels and different types. The Dominion
1 minute.
Swarm them all the single time. At the end of the day, being able to, plus we have a super weapon that we would use indiscriminately. So I'm not really sure what ultimately the big fear and concern is. So again, we outclass you all day.
Oh, 45 seconds. All right. See, I also want to say that too, is they have the Force on their side. How far can he use the Force actually?
Well, Luke traveled across the galaxy and Anakin's been known to be stronger than him. So I don't know. Take a pick. He really, yeah, seriously, he can. They're pretty. But the truth is, he would be. If they caught somebody, then they would bring him on, and he's been shown on numerous occasions to extract information, whether by the device that was going after Leia or by.
Point of order here: the Force was not mentioned in his original arguments. That is something he added to. So I think that.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you ever mention transporter technology? Because I didn't hear you. My point is, there are certain givens.
Technology.
There are certain givens
Hold on.
to the thing. Star Trek comes with the things that are Star Trek, and I will never argue that. The things that are actually Star Trek.
Did I use transporter technology in my argument at any time?
But is it? You could have.
But it exists.
I'm just saying I didn't add it after the fact, even though it might have come in handy.
Okay.
All right, fair enough.
Point of order, I'll give you that.
Sure.
And besides, we can counter the Force very easily. In fact, it's been done.
I need to hear this as a
okay, hold on. I need some clarification here. We're gonna do 3 minutes each for this, or 2 minutes each. 2 minutes. I don't want to go too long with this. 2 minutes each on how you can counter the Force. Ready? Go.
The episode Plato's Stepchildren. In that episode, James T. Kirk and crew came across a group of force-wielding aliens. These aliens were so powerful that one of them, having a fever dream, almost accidentally destroyed the Enterprise with his telekinetic powers. And in fact, in the same way that midichlorians are identified as how people are able to access the Force, guess what they found in that episode? That there was a chemical in their cells that gave them access to these telekinetic powers, which means it's simply midichlorians with a different name attached to it. And so what did they do? They quickly scanned them and then injected Kirk and Spock with double the amount of midichlorians as the most powerful person on the council of these Force users. Kirk and Spock then had a Force duel with these people and won.
1 minute.
I don't need a minute. I'm done.
I would take the minute. I would take the minute if I were you.
Ooh.
Are you sure?
You got 52 seconds.
Guess that wasn't the Force because they
I'm
didn't
just
call it midichlorians.
Hold on. No, stop. You still have 52 seconds. You can,
Well, I mean, you asked specifically. I mean, remember, I did say, and by the way, I'm not even adding anything to my arguments because
I understand.
I mentioned the scientific know-how of the Federation before, and do you know what kind of technology they needed to do this? McCoy's medical tricorder, standard issue, nothing special,
Right,
and in fact, by the time you get to the movies, outdated technology. And so they could easily counter the Force, especially since they have a record of it from a decade earlier.
Okay,
that's within your 52 seconds. Okay, let's see here, Mr. Know-It-All. I want to hear about this. How
there's nothing really that does
countered the Force. So I understand, but I want to hear what you got to say. So you got 2 minutes to rebuttal that too, because I'm interested as a judge and I'm in charge. So just do it.
All right, ready? let me know to go.
Go.
There's not really much to rebut. So he kind of he defeats his own argument right as soon as he said it. They were injected with what he wants to call midichlorians. Now, the reason I can tell you they're not is because if they were able to effectively just do something, telekinesis is different. Telekinesis is a mind thing, and if given enough whatever that your mind needs to do, you can do. Now, the Force is an actual skill that must be trained and learned, as well as having to do, sure, it's got something to do with midichlorians, but we never mentioned that in the original trilogy, so I wasn't going to bring it up. So as far as I'm concerned, since that's not part of the original trilogy, it ain't a thing. Now, when it comes to the actual use of the Force, it has been shown everywhere that actually requires training. You can't just inject the Force into someone. So sure, they were able to deal with telekinesis, and that's fine. That wasn't the Force. So I apologize. Your vaunted argument kind of falls apart on its own merit. But hey, I'm sure that 52 seconds, you wish you could take it back now, don't you? So it wasn't the Force at all, and there's really nothing for me to argue about.
Can I
all right, hold on one second. Actually, no, you can't, because that was the two things together.
He absolutely lied in that statement. So
did he lie in that statement? See, I don't know. It's
That's not true. How did I lie? Where did I lie?
Because you were simply talking about use of the light side of the Force. The dark side of the Force is based on passion, not skill and training.
Isn't that what? That's not what
I'm
he was
sorry.
saying
What?
though.
Yeah, no, I was
The
simply
light
saying
side. He
what
didn't
you were
mention the
talking
light
about.
side of the
And you
Force.
should know
did
better.
No.
You're the bad guys.
But what you're talking about is you're talking about telekinesis, which is not
Yes.
the Force.
he? Okay, so my decision. I don't know. It looks like we didn't make the argument for the Force. We didn't make the argument for moving and shooting at the same time, and also the argument of moving in hyperspeed. I'm sorry, I can't just
Right.
the
No, I got
layman
you.
speak for
No, I
moving,
like it. I was like,
shooting.
really? We're talking about stormtroopers? Like that's what I thought. I was like, stormtroopers can't shoot, and the red shirts are dying all over the place. I think about those two.
Here's the joke. A platoon of stormtroopers faces off with a platoon of red shirts. The stormtroopers fire and miss. The red shirts die anyway.
The red shirts die anyway.
Oh my god! Yes.
Okay. So I'll have to say, let's see here. All right, give me 30 more seconds each because I want to because I'm having this. It's a really close tie, and there's compelling arguments on each side. All right, so if you can just give me 30 seconds of your time.
What, can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
So you say there's compelling arguments on each side. So why not, for example, ask Mr. Know-It-All to counter whatever my most compelling argument is?
Okay.
And vice versa.
Okay. So specifically, how do you guard against that weak spot on the Death Stars or on that not the Death Star? Is it the Death Star? The big.
The exhaust port is on the Death Star, yes.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes. Go right ahead, buddy.
We jumped in and surprised them. He's just sort of trying to use meta information, be that is in a movie, when in their own world, they didn't even know it existed until the information was stolen. So I first want to hear his 30 seconds about when Starfleet Intelligence figured out that they needed to go steal anything to find out information in the first place.
Okay, that's very Go right ahead.
You want me to give 30 seconds on that?
Yeah, hold on. Give me 1 second.
Oh my God! If you mentioned Section 31, you're fired.
No, I could. I absolutely
Dude,
could.
you would
but I won't.
lose immediately. Immediately no. All right, 30 seconds.
Because what we do know is that Starfleet, and we have seen it on multiple occasions, is fully capable of scanning and analyzing the systems of a ship from greater than their weapons range, and their weapons range is 100,000 kilometers. In fact, with a very brief scan of a Romulan ship from aforementioned Balance of Terror, they were able to completely analyze their power systems throughout the ship.
Seconds.
I don't
Okay.
need any more. That's it.
All right, good. Excellent. Wow.
So yeah, they don't need to steal the plans.
Yeah, I don't know, man, because I feel like a new technology, a new civilization, you being able to suddenly ascertain what what you're even looking at that's not how Star Trek has ever worked. They often have to say, well, if I'm reading this right, then maybe I think it's this. They'd be making guesses.
Yeah, they would be.
I will concede. I can see where you're coming from with the scanning part, but I'm also remembering those numerous times where it was like, all right, I think if there's any rhyme or reason to their design, then it's X, Y, and Z. I mean, I don't know. It'd be a guess. That's a completely judge call, though, and I'm down. I'm not going to even argue that point.
Well, I would simply say this is that if you
remember, I am a Star Trek guy first. I do.
Yeah, I know.
Like I can have the geek conversation. I swear.
Yeah, but think so
All right, you have your last say right here.
Right.
Don't give him any bait, please. Don't give him any bait.
I know they're completely different types of technology, but what we're talking about is what is obviously the main reactor of the Death Star, which could easily be detected by Federation sensors, and an exhaust port that leads directly to it from the surface, which can also easily be detected by Federation sensors. We're not talking about figuring out how ion cannons work.
Okay. And I get the whole, but I get the whole. Well, never mind. You were good.
All right, so it looks like I made my decision though. I have made my decision.
Because I could have made.
So who's gonna make? Who's gonna pay the child support over here? I've made my decision. It looks like Mr. Know-It-All, you are not the father.
Got it.
And so by the points of 305 to 306, it looks like Salty won this one. It looks like the Federation will win this because it seems like they can do things they can get an information in war is super important. And that's why, first of all, in the Civil War, for example, was won because the North was able to send messages back and forth faster and information back fast. So information is key. Being able to scan in such a far distance, having to shoot in such a far distance, and not having to engage with the enemy. It's the advantage, and that's who I pick. I pick the Federation.
Congratulations, sir. That was awesome. That was an amazing fight, by the way. All of your arguments, by the way, you have no idea how difficult it is to be a Star Trek guy. And I'm like, but guys, he's right. But at the same time, like, because I kept thinking to myself, how do I argue with me? That's what I kept thinking. Because I'm with you. I'm with you about all.
Both of you guys are.
That's why I had to give in about the censors. Because I know. I'm like, you're right. He's dead right.
The biggest problem I saw for you, because I like you, if you truly understand the debate, you should be able to argue both sides of it, right?
Agreed.
We do have a twist. Do we have time for a twist or not really? Not in this round. For the final twist round.
We can. I think we can do it. Remember, I'm going to cut out that one section. But it has been. Golly, we did go a little long. I love it.
I told you we were going to. I told you.
That makes me happy, though. I don't mind.
Great.
I don't mind. Do you want to do the?
Yes. Come on. Start the other one.
The Ugly. This is the wild card round. The fighter with the fewest points picks their position first. Their opponent must take the opposing side, no exceptions. Refusing to bait or intentionally throwing the round forfeits the entire match. Each fighter gets 2 minutes for their argument, plus a 1-minute rebuttal. 1 point possible. Decides the match if tied.
All right, man, I'm ready. What do you got? Let's go.
All right, so it looks okay. Hold on. It looks like you, sir, are going to be on the Star Trek side. And
he get to pick. I thought he got to pick because he's behind on points.
He will go first.
Oh, okay.
In the scenario that I present on this nice twist here, but we are switching each other's points of arguments, which he will then now defend Star Trek, and you will now defend Star Wars. All right.
Like and in general, just defend them.
Huh?
Just defend them, or do you have a scenario, or just defend?
I have a scenario. You ready?
Okay.
Sorry, yeah. No. So here we go. In a galaxy far, far away, you guys encounter the xenomorphs, and then for a xenomorph, they do operate in a hive mind. Okay, and they are very brutal, acid skin or acid blood rather. So, how would the Star Trek Federation defeat the xenomorphs?
So the question basically comes down to who could more effectively deal with xenomorphs, the Federation or the Empire?
That's correct.
And he has to take the Federation for this.
Yeah, who wins in the encounter? The Star Trek, the Federation, or the Empire?
Okay.
And so you got 5 minutes. I'm about to call your real name, Mr. Know-It-All. And
it's supposed to only be 3.
Oh, 3 minutes. You're right. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Yeah. We're gonna put on the clock. Round. Yeah, this is a lightning round. Xenomorphs have appeared in the Federation. Let me know when to go. I can start. You got 30 seconds to collect your thoughts.
All right. Do I have to do it do I have to do it in the same era, or are we talking Star Trek in general?
I'm down for whatever. I'm feeling generous today, so the Federation in general.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. 3 minutes.
Go.
Go.
Do I go? Okay. Sorry.
Oh, go.
All right, no, it's fine. So I feel like in TNG style world, so Voyager dealt with not xenomorphs, but equally aggressive species that had either protective shielding or protective skins, and I think that's the first thing you have to deal with. Second is the aggressiveness of it. I think that our biggest issue we're going to have is they're soft and squishy, and we got to figure out a way to protect ourselves from that. Dealing with the Borg and other like entities like that have taught us the power of self protection and helping to protect ourselves, as well as much as Salty pointed out during the main match. I do believe that our science and xenobiology divisions would be able to they would just need time. We just have to ultimately, so long as we can keep them from Earth, I think we have time. Now, we may have to sacrifice some plant. No, I'm kidding. No, but at the end of the day, I do feel like we would. I do feel like we would take the opportunity and we would want to figure it out as fast as possible. I do think organizations like Section 31 and the Daystrom Institute would come in handy, because the Daystrom Institute has a lot of the hidden stuff that we don't like to talk about, and I think they would come up with between them helping to come up with the technology to counterattack this invasion, because that's what it would be. We would be able to figure out a way to synthesize either an agent that helps Trank finally get them to either put them to sleep, or enables us to freeze them, because we would find out that temperatures are a weakness and a weak point. And I feel like that would ultimately be one of the areas we would be able to. We would lean into our science, man. We would science the hell out of it, as the Martian says. We would, and try to figure out the weaknesses of our enemy, and ultimately isolate those things and figure out a way to synthesize some form of a counter agent, or make ourselves. And actually, if I know this, during the last 5 minutes of the episode, we would come up with a way to make humans non-palatable to the aliens.
All right, is that it? There you go. Non-palatable. I think we're already non-palatable.
I'd like to petition something from the court.
Say that again.
I'd like to petition something from the court. There's a motion.
Oh, okay, sure.
Basically, give him 1 more minute to tell you why I would fail compared to him.
Ooh, that is a nice.
I actually have an answer for that.
But see, I think you're trying,
because that way we can get a whole debate in.
Whoa! Time out. I'm the judge here, so
yeah.
So I think you still need to answer, and then he can then answer, because I want to still hear your answer, buddy. You can't just hit it over to him like that.
That's fine. That's fine.
But I do want to. You'll have another minute. Yes, you'll have another minute to explain or his request, to do his request. Ready? Let me see here. You got 3 minutes, Salty. Beginning now. The xenomorphs are coming to invade.
Glass the planet. Done.
Whoa, time out. The planet Earth with all of us in it?
Whatever planet the xenomorphs are found on.
Oh, see, but this is for an invasion. Where do they come from?
The xenomorphs don't invade in ships. They infest planets.
They infest planets.
And so whatever planet they're found on, you glass it.
Someone has been watching the most recent Alien movies.
Oh, man.
I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about...
yeah.
But yeah, if you look at the entire Alien franchise, aliens are not an invasion. They're an infestation.
They are an infestation.
Yeah, so they usually are transmitted by some other carrier, like another person brings them somehow, and then they spread from patient zero. So the Imperial, and I'm not saying this just to be funny. It is funny, but it's absolutely true that the Imperial solution would be, there's dangerous aliens on that planet. Destroy that planet.
Yes.
No,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Very efficient, very clean, and you're done.
Oh man. Okay, are you all set? Was that your final? Is that your final answer?
I mean, I know how I'll rebut.
All right, here we go. You've got 2 minutes for rebuttal. Is that right? Or should I just make it a 1 minute?
1 minute.
All right.
I'm not trying to be impressive. I'm not like 1 minute.
I know, right?
The rule is 1 minute. It's supposed to be 1 minute. It's supposed to be
okay, you ready? You ready for that?
Yeah.
I want to hear this rebuttal in 1 minute starting now.
So he presupposes that they would get some sort of forewarning or ability to know that that's the problem. They may find out afterwards and ultimately do that, but really in the end, the first guy, the idiot stormtrooper that was like, let me take a look at this thing, and took his helmet off to see better because he's a moron, would ultimately be face hugged, at which point he'd go back to the ship. They would end up, that's how the infestation would happen. So then you'd be forced to, because that's how they always happens. Watch the movies.
Yes, exactly. All right. That was good. That was really good. And I kind of, that was very, do you have anything to say about that?
Me?
Or do you have 1 minute to say anything about that?
Let me know when to go.
Okay, ready? Go.
First of all, his answer is complete BS because we all know that stormtroopers never take their helmet off.
Everything that guy just said is bullshit. Thank you.
That's why they can't shoot straight. Second of all, we also already know how incompetently the Federation would deal with this because, like everything else, we've already seen it. Original series, episode Devil in the Dark, a almost indestructible creature with acid for blood takes down over 50 miners while the Enterprise sits there scratching their butts trying to figure out what to do about it. And in fact, the only reason that they managed to survive is because they talked peace with the loving silicon monster. Unfortunately, xenomorphs won't be talking peace to Spock.
They will not be. This is Independence Day all over again. All right.
Mic drop.
Oh my God! Hold on. I know it's funny. Now I'm thinking of what that would have like. You said not to Spock. Can you imagine they managed to restrain one, and Spock actually melds with it, and he's the one that would have to tell them. He's like, "There's no." Yeah, he'd be like, "There's nothing here. There's just
destruction and
they're like, yeah, they're like humanoid." Right, a humanoid locust.
It would be like trying to mind meld with a disease. It doesn't.
Yes.
Work.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
All right. I think my decision is still going to be with the Empire this time. I mean, you got a glass of planet. I'm sorry. I mean, it is a compelling argument though about the storm taking his head out because that's how they do things is to infest. And so,
but I'm telling you right now, 5 minutes, the last 5 minutes of that episode, the last 5 minutes of that Star Trek episode, we find something stupid.
When have you ever seen exactly right. Take his helmet off to get a better look at something?
Mandalorian. Because they're dumb.
Exactly.
Mandalorian, really? Come on.
No, in the Mandalorian, they had
Mandalorian. That's not even Empire. Empire's long gone. Those guys
the
are like
stormtroopers. But listen, the stormtroopers when they were clones had no helmets on in the beginning.
Those are clone troopers, not stormtroopers.
Yeah, clone troopers.
All right. So. All right, well, I'm going to call it a draw then if that's a winner take all because, I mean, the Empire is going to go ahead and glass a planet.
Well,
and
no,
that
but
was
it's
a winner take all. But Star Trek, the Federation against the Empire, it's going to win that fight against the Empire.
Right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, looks like here in the Nerd Fight, we got a draw. If you don't like it, come at me. No.
You know what, I'll tell you what, my original answer was going to be basically similar to what you were saying about the Empire originally, is that the Empire, the Federation would, like you said, try to study the xenomorphs, figure out how they work, figure out a way to either contain them or whatever, where they're just going to send platoon after platoon of stormtroopers in, guns ablaze, and they're not going to worry about, making peace with them. However, then I realized, no, they're not going to even do that. They're just going to nuke the place, which is what Ripley suggested in the second movie.
Yeah.
So that's good. That was good. That was real good, man. Congratulations, sir. That was awesome.
By the way,
I feel like it's only right for you to win the first Nerd Fights myself. Yeah. I feel like that's only legit.
We got to make me big here for a second because I have something special to show you.
All right, man, go for it.
All right, ready? Pay close attention.
I love it. And he dies anyway.
Where did you get that? That is great. Have you had that forever?
Made that years ago.
That is so great.
That's awesome, dude. I love that. I love it.
Oh my God, he's the best. That was awesome. Bro, that's one of my new favorite things. That is so great.
So yes, that is indeed the...
We hope you've enjoyed this presentation of Nerd Fights. This has been a know-it-all entertainment production. Replays are available on the Nerd Fights channel at Nerdfighting on YouTube. Nerdfights is a part of the Salty Plus Network. On behalf of Salty Trekker, Mr. Know-It-All, and Gonzo, thanks for watching.